Welcome back to Opinion Journal. I'm Mary Kissel. The New York Daily News says Virginia is peddling lies about New York and its murder rates. Well, thankfully, we have a statistical expert here, our own Best of the Web Today columnist, James Taranto, to sort out truth from fiction. James, welcome. What is the dispute here?
Thanks. I don't know if I can live up to the billing as a statistical expert, but I'll try. There was an argument between Mike Bloomberg, the mayor of New York City, and Bob McDonnell, the governor of Virginia. And McDonnell said that New York City has higher rates of violent crime than Virginia does. So this reporter for the Daily News, Dan Friedman, this is what he said in a news story, that McDonnell was peddling lies.
So not opinion, news.
Well, right, except it's not only not opinion, but it's a factual assertion that isn't really factual. It is in fact true that Virginia has a lower, this figure that Friedman cited was the homicide rate than New York City. Now, Friedman's argument, and there is some merit to this argument, is that that's not necessarily the best comparison. You're comparing a city to a state. And so the fact that New York City has a higher murder rate, he says it would be better to compare New York City with Richmond. I don't know if that's an apples-to-apples comparison either, because Richmond is a tiny city. It's less than half the size of Richmond County, which is Staten Island, and it's much less diverse. It's smaller as a percentage of its metropolitan area. So all of these comparisons are problematic, but it is true that Virginia has a lower murder rate than New York, and it's odd that the Daily News would call a true statement a lie.
Well, what's the larger story here, James? I mean, don't media organizations misrepresent statistics all the time, even in news stories? I mean, you've written innumerable columns about this on Best of the Web.
Yes. What percentage of my columns have been about that?
Well,
right? I'm just kidding. Yes, it's true. Now,
why does that happen?
Well, usually it happens because people don't understand statistics. In this case, it was actually the reporter thought he was a little cleverer than he actually was. That is, he was making a legitimate statistical point. What is the correct point of comparison here? Is it New York State to Virginia? That seems to be his strongest argument, although you could argue those are different. Virginia and New York City do have approximately the same population. The point is these comparisons are always difficult, but it's a nuance. It's not a lie.
Well, do readers turn to tabloids like the Daily News for quality sort of analysis of this kinds of things, James? I mean, I mean, come on.
Well, no, I don't think so.
Like easy targets for your column.
No, I mean, look,
targets.
It's a tabloid. It's inflammatory. But of course, I used it to go on to make a bigger point, which is the underlying dispute between Bloomberg and McDonnell is Bloomberg is complaining that more guns that are used in gun crimes in New York are originally purchased in Virginia than in any other state. Now, of course, it's very difficult to purchase a gun in New York State. Virginia has much greater respect for the Second Amendment. It's easier to buy a gun there. But it's also true that Virginia has recently had a surge in the number of gun purchases, lawful gun purchases, and at the same time, it's had a decline in its crime rate.
So more guns equals less crime?
Well, there's always the danger of the cum hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy, mistaking correlation for causation. But there is ample evidence from various researchers that that's the case. And my argument is, if New York made it easier for law-abiding citizens like you and me to carry guns, the crime rate would go down even further. Then we would be the envy even of Virginia.
Well, you heard it here first. Best of the Web Today columnist James Taranto. Thank you very much.